Yeah, I don't think these shares are working correctly either on the screen. I'm so happy you're doing this subject. There's such a disparity between men and women with this diagnosis. Yeah, there 100% is. 100% is. All right. One sec. Sorry. We are going to start, I promise. Let's do it on all men apply. Can somebody just send like one Brat Apple, please? I just want to see if the thing on the screen is working. Just one Brat Apple, please, or any 1 penny thing, please. Why is that not showing on the screen? It's not showing. It's supposed to show on the screen. Oh, why does it keep saying followers? Apply. Is it saved? No, it just keeps. Alright, so the tech is not teching today. It's just defaulting. Apply. Yeah, it's not doing it. Fuck it. Alright, we'll just carry on. Alright, so we're going to start talking about ADHD first. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a talk on autism. Just going to hide my face there. Do you know what? I might as well make it big. Sorry. Artist at work. Artist at work. Bear with me. Techie Tuesday. Anyway, you can't see my face now. No. All right, let's start with ADHD. Please keep tapping whilst I'm talking. Also, we do have the Brat goal, the Brat Apple goal. If you can help and send some Brat Apples, that'd be amazing. All right, so what is it all about? So I'm going to start with this piece. This is regarding the term neurodiversity. So the term neurodiversity recognizes diverse and varying brains, and it's becoming associated with both positive traits and characteristics associated in some people with either dyslexia, ADHD, autism, ASD, etc., dyspraxia, so forth. And it sort of recognizes them as having specific challenges that some people might have. Now, there is an increasing awareness of neurodiversity, means that there are females either self-diagnosing one or more conditions in adulthood. But there are many girls and females who still haven't had their support needs recognised, and they continue to have challenges in day-to-day life. And for some, arriving at adulthood, it can mean having years of constant feelings of either anxiety, and for many, being or having been depressed, right? And they often will experience cycles of burnout, have challenges with their sleep. They may even start to see all of this as being quite a normal thing. And for some people, their diagnosis was missed altogether, or it was considered as something else. And past challenges can result in difficulties progressing in either education and socially, and it can include a sense of never quite fitting in. Um, Hold on. Estimates for childhood ADHD range from between 3% and 7%, and the pathway to adulthood does not appear to be different in males or females with ADHD. A recent review has shown that there are 80% of children continue to experience challenges that can impact on a day-to-day functioning. And importantly, research on gender differences in ADHD increasingly suggests that girls may be consistently under-identified and under-diagnosed. And this has mostly been explained by some differences in the way challenges and strengths are presented in females compared to males. So females in general with ADHD have been reported to have fewer hyperactive or impulsive symptoms, and they are more likely to have inattentive symptoms when they are compared with males with ADHD. And they are less likely to be disruptive, and so they generally will fade somewhat into the background, and so not necessarily noticed as being a nuisance to others. And if they are disruptive, then this may be associated with other factors in their life, and ADHD may not even have been considered. Lack of knowledge by teachers and health professionals about the presentation in females means that they can be missed altogether until they are in adulthood. There was a study done in 2004, Sciotto, Nolfi, and Bloom found that teachers more often refer more boys than girls for treatment for ADHD, even when showing equal levels of impairment. So let's talk about some overshadowing here. A major contributing factor to late or misdiagnosis of ADHD in females appears to be the presence of the coexisting symptoms that often cloud or overshadow the diagnostic picture. As many as 75% of children with ADHD are likely to have at least one other mental health condition, and in general, boys with ADHD have been found to have more externalizing disorders noticed by others than while females tend to show more internalized disorders, which is not always seen by others. And so, in comparison to girls without this is in comparison to girls without ADHD. So low mood might be some of the symptoms that you might see in a young person, a young female. Emotional lability and anxiety may be especially common in females with ADHD. And it says here substance misuse may be problematic for some people with ADHD. And in those cases, it often means that those conditions are diagnosed before ADHD is even considered when we're talking about females. Females who get diagnosed with ADHD, they generally have to be more symptomatic than their male counterparts. And when I talk about autism in a minute, there's a great piece I'm going to read you, and it explains why the difference between male and females in a bit more details, and why men. The whole study of ADHD has been based on males, and so it's quite difficult for women to be identified earlier, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'm skipping ahead. We'll come to that in just a moment. Please keep tapping the screen for me, my darlings, and thank you so much, Deeks and Lindsay and everyone else who's sending those brat apples and trying to help us hit that goal. Thank you so much. Some ADHD signs and impacts for females. Now, I'll just say here, not everybody is going to have everything that's on this list, and this list is not extensive. But what I do want you to do is write yes in the chat if any of the things that I say are relatable to you and you recognize them in yourselves. Okay. Some of these signs may be associated with other conditions too. So this is why it's always really helpful that you are diagnosed professionally. But here's some ADHD signs and impacts for females, all right? Number one, starting something and not finishing it and then feeling bad because of this. Does anyone relate? Say yes. Number two, Meg's like, check. Number two, hey Jordan, working much harder to achieve because not sure of how hard you actually need to work and often experiencing burnout or burnout cycles. Keep putting those yeses in the chat for me. Number three, for some ADHD signs, chatty, enthusiastic, overly engaged, and then not. That's very me. Number four, losing your day, drifting off down a rabbit hole of interest, which is sometimes seen as daydreaming. Got lots of yes, I love the yeses. Number five, distracted by other people's conversations around you and drifting off when someone is talking to you. Unless, of course, the topic is of high interest to you, and then you are fully engaged. Cowboy's teeth is like, oh my God, yes, yes. All right, number 6, impulsive decision making. That's 100% me. My hand is in the air. Or enthusiastic decision making. Big up Jordan with the apple brats. Thank you, babe. Thanks, Jem. Saying yes before saying no and then regretting it because of too many yeses. That is totally me. Number 7, not being able to sit still or stay quiet for long, or fidgety, or toe tapping, or doodling, or hair twirling. Yes, yes, yes. I love how we are all so the same. Loving all the yeses. Number 8, sleep disturbances or having a busy brain and rumination and feelings of disappointment when it hasn't gone right again, or feeling anxious. Um, Number 9, losing possessions even though you are sure you put them in that one place. How many of you feel disorganized in your brain? That's a big fat yes from me. Um, Number 10, loads of information or knowledge, but a brain that has an inconsistent filing system. Oh, that's me. My brain has an inconsistent filing system. Oh God, Lindsay says yes, and now tenfold with menopause. Oh my God, it makes it even worse. Number 11, poor concepts of time passing or bad time management. Number 12, other people's perceptions of you. Thinking that you are less capable than you really are, or overly direct, or that you're overly rude because of interrupting, because maybe you find it hard to stay quiet for long periods of time. Number 13, compensating to camouflage by working even harder to cover up any mistakes, or driving anxiety and obsessional actions to do. So putting yourself under pressure because you're just constantly like, trying to get things done. Number 14, pre-verification ends up with you doing the things like pre-verification ends up with you doing the things that you like doing and avoiding the tedious things we still all have to do as much as possible, even though we know they often won't take us as long in reality. Yeah, procrastination, mate. 15, the impact for females may result in having greater social problems in school, and it may result in having been more vulnerable to bullying, including physical and social relational bullying, and even cyberbullying. Welcome, Witch Queen. And number 16, like males, it's saying here there is an increased school dropout or academic underachievement and more accidents with females. And not surprisingly, there is an impact on self-esteem and self-concept. Women with ADHD may experience challenges in the workplace, such as disorganization, inattention, difficulty accepting constructive criticism and appraisal, and difficulties managing interpersonal relationships with colleagues. They may even work longer hours to complete tasks because of their own sort of time management or their focus challenges, which can also be very exhausting. And see you having these different cycles of burnout, right? Um, they may also be more common, but they may not be recognized, or they might even be seen as something else. So that was just a little bit on women and ADHD. I just want to touch on this very quickly about high functioning ADHD symptoms, right? Because we'll talk about masking and stuff. A lot of people with ADHD and autism also are quite good at masking as well. But I found this article on what is high functioning ADHD, and I found it quite interesting, so I wanted to share it with you. Um, Now, functions, it says here, symptoms of high functioning ADHD can vary from person to person. But it says here, what is high functioning ADHD? High functioning ADHD refers to individuals who have less challenging symptoms of ADHD. So it says while the DSM-5 does not recognize high functioning ADHD as an official diagnosis, there are clinicians and mainstream culture have adopted the term to refer to people who have found workarounds for their ADHD. So, for example, people with high functioning ADHD, they can complete a work project despite feeling exhausted or burnt out by the task. And in contrast, somebody with more debilitating ADHD may get fired because they can't meet a deadline. Do any of you recognize yourself as being high functioning ADHD? Because I do. Lindsay says that's me. High functioning ADHD symptoms. Symptoms of high functioning ADHD can vary from person to person, and people with high functioning ADHD may have the ability to function well in specific areas of their life, right, such as work or school, but still struggle with symptoms behind closed doors. And some of the common symptoms for high functioning ADHD in adults include the following. Give me some yeses. Jordan's like, oh, Lordy, you're talking about me. Give me some yeses in the chat, right? If you recognize these symptoms, because I bet a lot of you will. Difficulty multitasking, getting stressed out easily, frequent ADHD mood swings, time blindness or poor time management. Perhaps you are overly chatty in conversations. Do you unintentionally interrupt others? Do you have a sensitivity to rejection? Chronic procrastination. I am fully paid up in that club. Difficulty reading for extended amounts of time. Low self esteem. Frequent frustration with yourself. And do you have ADHD racing thoughts or jumping from idea to idea? And it just says here symptoms of high functioning ADHD in children, just for those of you that have children. Here's some high functioning ADHD symptoms that they are feeling fidgety, inability to sit still, they have intense excitement, excessive energy, drifting or daydreaming, difficulty waiting their turn, careless mistakes in their homework or schoolwork, and difficulty maintaining attention for kids as well. Negative impacts of high functioning ADHD. Having high functioning ADHD can be a double-edged sword. While it may seem like extreme multitasking or hyperfocusing is a superpower, high functioning ADHD does have its downsides. The constant internal pressure to perform while struggling with ADHD executive dysfunction can lead to burnout and anxiety or even feeling not good enough. And the ADHD masking or pretending that everything is fine could also delay a diagnosis or getting much needed support. Teep says, pretty sure the kiddo's a little bit spicy, but too young to tell. Right, keep tapping the screen for me, my darlings. And if anybody can send any brat apples and help us with our goal, that would be much appreciated. All right. So I'm going to move on to autism, and then we're going to open the boxes in a minute. I love all the yeses of you guys seeing yourself in the information that I'm sharing with you. Whether you are diagnosed or undiagnosed, I think it's really important that we just hear about these things because then we can either take action or have conversations that might need to happen. So this one is understanding undiagnosed autism in adult females. Autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD, also known as autism, is a neurodevelopmental condition typically diagnosed in childhood, but some people, specifically people assigned female at birth, may go undiagnosed until adulthood. Traditional estimates find that boys are 4 times as likely as girls to receive an autism diagnosis. That's 4 times. Boys are 4 times as likely as girls to receive an autism diagnosis. But experts are realizing that almost as many females as males may have autism. And recent research shows that nearly 80% of autistic females are undiagnosed as of age 18. That's a huge number. 80% of autistic females are not diagnosed until they are adults. An autism diagnosis can be a relief for many adults, and it may explain symptoms that they've always had but have never been able to explain. It can also open doors to much needed health resources and support. Here's what you need to know about autism in adult females. There's no medical test to identify autism. Healthcare professionals rely on the information they gather from a person's developmental history, symptom assessments, and behavior to reach a diagnosis. To diagnose autism, the physician must have evidence of both impairments in social communication and interaction and restricted or repetitive behaviors. But in people assigned female at birth, evidence of autism isn't always easy to identify because autism was traditionally considered a male condition. For many decades, experts assumed autism occurred more in males than females, and most autism research relied on male participants and examples. So, what is known about autism is largely based on autism in males. And as a result, boys are referred for autism diagnosis 10 times more than girls. And physicians still I don't know why I can't say physicians right today. It's like I've got wobbly teeth in or something. Physicians still don't have a strong understanding of autism in females. The autism assessment tool, it detects and measures known ASD traits, but this is all established on a male baseline. Identifying autism in females is harder if their traits don't match what's traditionally considered ASD. Now, autism does look different in females, especially during childhood. And in comparison to males, young females may have very different autism traits. And those signs aren't always far enough outside of the socially acceptable norms to be even noticeable. And autism traits in girls may include fewer social difficulties. So females report more sensory symptoms and fewer communication difficulties than males do. And they tend to be more socially motivated to either form friendships and find ways to participate in conversations with others. The other thing with autism traits is internalized symptoms. Boys managing autism may experience obvious difficulties with sitting still, aggression, or conduct, but girls are more likely to respond to autism internally, developing anxiety or depression, and their responses may look like shyness, which is a socially acceptable norm for girls, right? And then the final autism trait in girls is typically restricted interest. So children with autism, girls and boys, often showcase a uniquely intense or strong interest in one thing. And in girls, that tends to be something other girls that age also enjoy, such as horses or celebrities. So that particular behavior in girls doesn't call attention. There is limited research on how autism traits change across a lifespan, and the existing studies show that autistic females may have better social and communication abilities in childhood, but once they reach adolescence and adulthood, they exhibit more severe social and communication difficulties than males. And females, of course, tend to mask signs of autism. Research shows that unless an autistic female has cognitive or behavioral issues, they are usually diagnosed later in life. And experts believe family, teachers, and primary care physicians may miss the signs because autistic females tend to camouflage their symptoms, which we know as masking. Young females typically are more motivated than males to want to fit in and to be social. Females with autism learn or they mimic socially acceptable behavior by watching either television shows, movies, and the people around them. They may copy the facial expressions of others to hide their social communication challenges, and those efforts can cause mental exhaustion, stress, and anxiety. Undiagnosed people assigned female at birth may spend years and even decades feeling like something is wrong with them, though they aren't exactly sure what is wrong with them. They may learn to fit better into what they perceive as socially acceptable, but their autistic traits remain and continue to pose challenges. So there's a list of things here that female autism may experience. Things like social difficulties, sensory sensitivity, difficulty with self-regulation and executive function, things like intense interest in things, repetitive behaviors, co-occurring conditions as well. And autistic adult females may experience anxiety, ADHD, depression, eating disorders, OCD, sleep disorders, or tic disorders. And if you think you may have autism, it is absolutely advisable to speak to a specialist and get some advice. Mish Bomb says, all of the above bar ticks for me. All right, that's my pre-ramble done. We've talked a bit about ADHD. We've talked a bit about autism. Hold on, what's this one? One sec. Oh, there's this other website here called Autistic Girls Network, and they're really fighting to change things around because they're saying here currently the assessment tool that is being used to screen for autism are male centric, and they are saying we want to see tools in place that reflect multiple presentations and needs so that no child's needs go unrecognized or unsupported. We're currently pilot validating an autism checklist that sits within our white paper. Oh, they've written a whole white paper on autism and girls and keeping it all inside. So expect to see that change soon. Our aim is to raise awareness of autism in girls and others who present in an internal way with health, social care, and educational professionals, and to bring about change. Not only to the way that autistic girls are assessed and subsequently supported, but to the narrative with updated and positive terminology used to describe autistic traits. So they are working on Digicaz. It came out with a very high score. All right, let me get back to my screen. All right, so we're going to open the boxes now and invite you guys to come up and tell us about. Let me set it up on here. multi-guest. We're going to invite you. We're going to open the boxes. Bear with me. Accept. Let me see if I can change the layout.
Evening.
Hello, darling. I'm just trying to sort out the boxes. Bear with me. I don't. Where's it gone? The layout. So if you do want to come up, I will ask everybody to stay on topic, right? Either tell us about ADHD or autism or both if you have both. But what we're really interested in hearing about is, I guess, your journey to being diagnosed, particularly if you were late diagnosed as an adult, and if you want to share with us, what some of the symptoms were that led you to seek out a diagnosis. But also, if you're undiagnosed, I mean, you are welcome to come up if you're going through the process of being diagnosed. But we kind of want to hear about how either being undiagnosed was affecting you, if you've just been diagnosed or you are diagnosed, how your life has improved or what's changed for you. That's the kind of angle we want to hear about. And we ask everyone, just respectfully, to try and keep your shares as brief as possible, which I know might be hard for a lot of us in this room, but where possible, could we try? Zoe also has control of the boxes, so she'll be bringing people up and dropping people down as well. Zoe, did you want to add on anything to what I've already said so far?
So the big one for me at the minute is if anyone's watching and is sat there thinking, oh my, I've got autism, I've got ADHD, I need a diagnosis, what do I do? It is now, I think it's since 2018, you now have a right to choose where you get your mental health assessments. And going down the right to choose option for a diagnosis is quicker than going through your sort of local GP, local NHS services.
Yeah,
It's
considerably. Sorry to interrupt you.
that's
If
right.
if you go through a GP, it can take 6-7 years. If you go through the right to choose, you could get it done anywhere from 12 weeks to 12 months. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much quicker option.
Obviously, it is dependent on your area, but still 12 months is a lot less than 7 years.
Yeah,
What I would do is when you go to your GP, you need to make sure they do a right to choose referral and not just a general referral. So you need to specify that you want a right to choose referral, and make sure that they fill in the right to choose form, and then they will then contact you with the local your local clinics that are offering the services. It is dependent on area and trust, but it is an option that not many people are aware of.
yeah, no, that's really helpful. Have you put the stuff in the poll yet, babe?
Yeah, so in the poll, what I've done, I couldn't fit the full links in because they're long. But what I've put in is what I type into Google for them to come up. So there's the link, there's the UCLA Undiagnosed Autism, which is the autism article you've got. There's the Autistic Girls Network. There's the ADHD Foundation Females, which is where the ADHD information came from. There's the ADHDgirls.co.uk link, and also if you type in NHS right to choose ADHD online, it will bring up more information for you. If anyone, because obviously I know ADHD, autism, things can get overwhelming. If anyone does want me to just send them the actual link, if you message me, what I can do is after the live, I will just email, TikTok message the links over to everybody.
Brilliant. Thank you. So again, guys, there is a poll up with some information in. When I come off the live, what I will do is I will put the links. There is a link in my profile right now, but that's for the bullying live on Thursday. But I'll do a similar link. Can everyone go on mute for me, please? I will put the links in my bio. It will just be an image there with all the links on as well. Why have you expanded yourself?
I didn't mean to.
um, Actually, if anyone should expand, it should be me so that they can see the thing when people come in the room. Hi there. Um, let's make that a bit bigger. There we go. All right. So we've got yeah, I'll put the links in the bio. If anybody wants to come up, just request the box and Zoe will get you in. Or if you want your comments to be read out below, then Zoe can do that. I know, jump scare. Come back. No, I'm hiding. I'm hiding. um, all right, let's start with Pretty Green Eyes. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Hello.
Hello. What's your name?
Lucy.
Hi, nice to meet you, Lucy.
Nice to
What did
meet
you want to share
you.
with us about your ADHD or autism journey?
I was diagnosed at the age of 10 with ADHD. I'm 40, so it wasn't really understood massively. I was sent to a boarding school at the age of 11 because my behaviour and my actions couldn't be controlled. And then when I hit 30, I got a diagnosis of autism, which is quite hard to describe, but everything that you've said makes a lot of sense and is something that I do. I did want to bring up the thing of stimming.
Mm,
Now, all different people have different stims. My stim from a very young age is to rub and to also shake my knee. My
mm.
knee shakes. I've had exactly the same since I was a child. Sorry, I do quite often go off on a tangent, so just cut me off
Don't
if I
worry,
feel it's just me.
we will rein you back in. Don't worry, keep going.
Rein
You're
me
all right
back
for
in,
now.
rein me back in. I'm actually doing really well.
You are.
It's
Go on.
not it's not difficult to talk about. It's difficult to explain. The obsession of things is a big thing in my life. I've got 2 lawnmowers, 3 trimmers, 4 hedge cutters. Yeah, yeah.
So, do you feel like your life was better once you was diagnosed at all, or
Once I was diagnosed with autism, yeah, because when I was younger, autism didn't actually. I don't want to say exist. It wasn't known as
right?
much as what it is now.
Yeah,
So I'm understood a lot by my family better now,
yeah,
where before I wasn't. I was the naughty child. I've got 2 sisters, one older, one younger, and I was the awful child they had to send off to boarding school.
yeah,
And then once they understood of certain things I do, they got it.
yeah,
They kind of understood me and I understood me, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yes.
I'm not scared now of the random things that I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So
So it makes more sense for you and your family now.
it makes a lot more sense for me and
Yeah,
my family. My
brilliant.
family get me where my family never ever did get me.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
the beautiful thing, isn't it? Is of once you have a diagnosis and you have an explanation of what's going on, it's a massive weight for you of like perhaps you used to just think I'm a naughty child or I'm a bad child or there's something wrong with me. But once you have that diagnosis of feeling like, oh, okay, this is why things have happened or why I've behaved this way, and it makes sense. And I think that brings people a bit of peace
yeah, massively.
of knowing, and also for your family, instead of looking at you as the naughty one, it's like, okay, this is why, they've acted this way, and
Yeah.
now we get them. Thank you for sharing that
Sorry,
with us. That's
that is my
really,
dog. That's my dog
we can
snoring.
hear
You
your
can
dog
probably.
snoring, doing you dirty in
Sorry.
the background. Thank you
He's
so
all be
much, my
quiet.
darling.
Right,
Oh,
I'm gonna go. Thank you for letting
thank
me
you for
up
coming
because
up and
I
being
can't
brave. Well
I
done.
can't I can't hold for very long. So that's another thing. Lack of concentration. It just
Yeah.
goes. All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
darling.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Hi, Meg. How are you?
Hi. Sorry, I've got if I'm difficult to understand, I've got like a tooth infection and I have a swollen face.
Oh dear. All right. Well,
So if I'm hard to
we
understand, I
won't
apologise.
we won't keep you long then, darling. But how are you coming into this? Are you ADHD, autistic, or both? What's your story
um,
and your journey with autism as an adult, or
so
ADHD?
well,
Sorry,
that's alright.
sorry, I'm
Um,
yabbering.
I was diagnosed with ADHD as a young child, and I knew that that was fine, but I didn't get any help for that. They offered my mum Ritalin for me, but my mum refused because she didn't want it to change who I was. She didn't want to dull the sparkle I had, as she said. Um, which was okay, but I never got any other support growing up. And it wasn't until I was seeking autism assessments for my daughter that I found out that I actually had an autism journey myself. Um,
Oh wow.
so yeah, I was getting my daughter assessed, and the paediatrician had said to me in the appointment, "Have you ever been assessed for autism?" And it wasn't until I was about 27 that my mum told me that I was during those assessments. The child psychologist, they said that I showed many of the signs for what was Asperger's at the time, um, but females don't really get that, so he's just gonna put it down as ADHD,
Hmm.
and that was how nonchalantly that went down.
Oh wow.
So my daughter's now 7 and she's diagnosed with autism, which I'm thankful for because she's now getting the support at school that she needs.
Yeah.
Um, but I went to get assessments myself, obviously for autism, and I filled out the forms. And I don't know if anyone, obviously, I'm sure plenty of people in here tried to fill out those assessment forms. And it was really, I've never felt a mental struggle like it. Um,
I'm listening. Sorry, I've just got to do a puzzle so TikTok doesn't end my live. Hold on.
oh, sorry.
Sorry. So sorry, you said you found the forms to be really difficult.
Yeah, they were very difficult to fill out. There was questions like, did you ever harm animals as a child, or did you ever, like, things that I just found, like, really, I couldn't, it was really hard to fill out the form, so I had filled it out, it took me a while, and sent it away, and they lost it, and I just thought, like, no, I'm not going through that again, that
Oh,
was a lot.
that's annoying. Is there no
And
support with helping to do those forms, or was it just something you had to do on your own?
I didn't really look into it. It was
Okay.
something that I thought, like, it's a form. I can fill
Yeah.
in a form. But my son has been assessed for ADHD, and
Mm.
again, ADHD and autism, sorry. And again, his paediatrician had asked me the same question. And she actually told me, surprisingly, that there's, like, obviously I explained everything to her. And she said there's not much point in being diagnosed as an adult because there's nothing that NHS can do. You have to really look into third-party charity organisations.
Yeah.
Which I thought, like, oh, that's great. But now as an as we call it, like we like to call it, neurospicy parent,
Yeah.
with neurospicy children, I wasn't given the tools to deal with my ADHD and possible autism.
Mm.
But I am now a fully grown adult that it is my responsibility to raise two children and help them get the tools that they need to manage their ADHD and autism.
Yeah.
But I never received them myself, and that's a really difficult thing to do as a
Yeah.
parent. But yeah, that's pretty much my story. I'd say I'm glad my daughter has been diagnosed. She's 7 now, and she gets all the help she needs at school. So yeah.
Which is wonderful. Which is wonderful
Yeah.
to hear. Thank you so much for coming up and
Thank you for
sharing, Meg.
having
I
me.
really appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
All right, my darling. All right, I'll
Bye.
drop you down. Take care, darling. Thanks, Meg.
Bye.
Hey, Debs.
Hello, my love. You all right?
I'm all right. I'm all right. What would you like to share, darling?
I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of it, because there are people of a certain age at the moment who are kind of like, well, why did school not spot this and all of that kind of thing. Back in the day, there used to be things called special schools. My mum used to work in a special school, and quite often a lot of the kids who had the extreme ends of ADHD and autism were placed in these special schools, but then the government decided that everybody needed to be integrated into regular school, and so a lot of the special schools were closed.
Yeah.
And so when I went into teaching, I was a dance and PE teacher, but to fill my timetable, I used to work with kids in SEN. So I was sent on these courses. And back in 1997, so if you were at school in the 90s, this is, and even 2000s, this is very appropriate for you. In 1997, I went on the first course to recognise dyslexia, dyspraxia, autism, and ADHD. And when we were going through the list for ADHD, I went to the organisers of the course and literally and said, I've ticked every single box of this. And their response to me was, well, you're 25, 26 or whatever. It will have disappeared in you by now, because it's usually in boys and children.
It will have disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, well, I still wobble my leg all the time. My mum calls it St. Vitus dance. I'm still particularly disorganised at times. Like, I'm always late for everything. So, but even in the 90s, the people running the course was dismissing the symptoms that I was showing at that point.
Yeah.
I went back and said to my mum, because she was still working with SEN kids in the new school that she was at, and I said, why did you never get me assessed for ADHD? And her response was, I didn't want you to have the label, and I didn't want you to have all the problems that come with the label.
Oh, bless her.
And a lot of parents were like that back in the past. They didn't want you to be seen as different, because back then you were kind of put in all the bottom sets and kind of really outed from, even though they'd put people into normal schools and taken away special schools at that point, there was still this thing about you being different and at the lower end of society.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of the beliefs and everything in the 90s and early 2000s for both parents and teachers were based on that. So people in the 40s and 50s now, I'm in my 50s, we're now realising that we have these ADHD symptoms and things like that. But there are things that you can do about it. So if you're working, you can get access to, you can apply for access to work, which helps you get support.
And if you've got your own business, you can apply for that as well.
Yeah, if you've got your own business, yeah. And also with autism, I know with autism, there are people who can get PIPs and stuff like that with autism. So
Yeah.
there are all kinds of different things that we have access to now that we didn't used to have in the past. And we can, like, last year I was hyper focused on everything, doing 300 million things, and not having time for a lot of stuff outside of work and all the things that I was focusing on. And on day one of this year, I totally burnt out. And I've literally not had a lot of energy all year. It's taken me all year to kind of get energy to myself. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of come up and say a bit of history and talk about a bit of the help that you can get now, because it can really help you. And I have to have my access to work reassessed, because I got mine accepted in January this year. Then my mum was ill, and then everything just got put to the bottom of the pile, and I've not done anything with it. So I know that I can apply again.
Yeah, you absolutely can. It's interesting because Emsy's just written in the chat, that's still my belief now, that I'm at the lower end of society because it was drummed into me.
Sadly, it is still the views of some places and establishments in society. It's still, I know from sort of struggles I've had with Dylan, they almost wrote him off at school completely and told me that he weren't going to sit his SATs. I was like, no, he's sitting his exams because he's capable of doing it, and he did really well. But I think what people are, because of the historical stigmas, like if we forget way back when people who had severe autism, they'd be put in asylums.
Yeah.
And that stigma is still held. Like back when ADHD first started coming around, there was the whole stigma of it just being a label, and the kids are just naughty and there's actually nothing going on. Obviously, that's been scientifically proven wrong, but those stigmas still breed through society, and it's really sad that people have to fight so hard.
Yeah. No, I agree. Debs, was there anything else you wanted to add, my love? Thank you for coming up.
No, I'm good. There is a doctor on here, this ADHD doctor. If I can find who he is, I'll share it to you so you can share it to everybody on here. One of the things that he said on one of his posts was that there are 4 things that he looks for when somebody comes in for ADHD, and I can only ever remember 3 of them because that's typical. So one is bruises easily. The other is goes over on the ankles easily, or kind of, weird joint type things. Rubbish at sleeping, and I can't remember the other one. But all 4 of those, as soon as he said that, I was like, yep, I've literally never been able to sleep since I was little. So
yeah, it's mad.
So yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll drop down. Yeah.
All right, bub.
Thanks, love.
Big loves. Bye.
Thanks, Debs.
Welsh bird. Hello. Welsh bird.
Sorry, I was struggling to unmute my mic.
That's all right. What would you like to share in this discussion that we're having?
Basically, obviously, when it comes to myself, I didn't know I was on the spectrum of autism until after my mother passed away, and I finally seen my records, and that was nearly 10 years ago. So I was, it was just after my 21st birthday, and I got around to seeing my records. Because obviously, I never understood why I was acting up in certain situations and just being a little brat, basically. Do you know what I'm saying? And now, I've got my own child, I see the way I acted when I was my daughter's age now, which she's 5, like it's kind of difficult because obviously I see a lot of my ways in my daughter because she's on the course of being diagnosed for autism herself, and it's it's kind of difficult because obviously I shut myself away in a lot of aspects when it comes to being on the spectrum and stuff like that. Like it's caused a lot of social anxiety, and now having to raise my little girl who's on the spectrum herself or could potentially be on the spectrum is kind of a difficult scenario to be in, especially like I get no support whatsoever, none at all. And like there's been times where I've been out and about with my little girl and she's just had a meltdown. She's spotted something that's kind of triggered her, and to the point, because obviously she's not a small child, she's really tall for her age, where she just plugged herself to the floor, refused to move, screamed the place down, this, that, and the other, and yeah. Them scenarios I get really tend to struggle with, because obviously I've had no help whatsoever to help me with her behaviour side of things. So it's just trying to work out how I can handle the situation a lot better, if that makes sense. It's just, yeah, everything when it
Yeah.
comes to the whole situation is just rather difficult.
How old is your child?
He's 5.
So, I'm from what I've heard, it's quite a long process
Yeah,
from start to finish, isn't it? Is it like 5 or 6 years or something to get an
yeah.
autism diagnosis in children?
Yeah. Like obviously she's had, recently had a lot of assessments in the past year and a half,
Mm.
because obviously they noticed it. They started noticing when she started creche when she was 3, and obviously they was picking up on signs on a speech delay and everything like that.
Hmm.
And obviously time went on, and then obviously when she started full-time school, and that's when the assessment started kicking in. And obviously, like recently, I had someone come out to do like a parental view side of things, so I don't have to attend the panel kind of thing. So they can do all the work within the next 12 weeks. And obviously, but as they said, like she might not get a diagnosis for at least another 2 years.
Yeah.
So during that time, she's got to, again, go through a lot more assessments to even get the diagnosis she needs, basically, and get the correct support.
Yeah.
You know,
So sorry, I either zoned out or I was distracted. Did you say you have an autism diagnosis yourself when you was
yeah,
21?
I didn't find out I was on the spectrum until after my mother passed away nearly 10 years ago. So I went through part of, all my childhood and part of my adult life, not knowing why I was acting up in certain situations, why I wasn't like communicating, why my communication skills wasn't on point, why I was.
And was that something you pushed for yourself individually to get that diagnosis, or was it
No,
family?
no, no. Yeah, like I was already diagnosed as a child, but I didn't find out. Like, I didn't see my records until after my mother passed away. If that makes
Oh, so
sense.
you were diagnosed, but you
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
told.
But I was diagnosed, but wasn't told.
Oh,
But I did.
wow.
Yeah, I didn't find out till after my mother passed away, and I think I was kind of sheltered basically on what was wrong with me and why I was acting up on certain situations.
Bloody hell.
So yeah, it was kind of a shock to the system when
Well,
I
yeah,
found out. I
of
was like,
course.
but obviously, like, at that point when I come to find out, I couldn't really like question my mother, if that makes sense, because she was passed away, like, so, and I could never ask her the reason why
Mm.
and this, that, and the other. But I think it was mainly because she didn't. I again, like I heard it earlier, like
Yeah, like Deb
someone
said,
said that
she didn't want
they
you
didn't
to
want
be
to put that.
labelled.
be labelled and have
Yeah.
that label over them and everything that comes with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a hard one. Like, yes, in some sort of way, it's harsh not to tell a child why they know the way they are. But then, in another sense, as a parent myself now with a potentially autistic child, it does make sense in some
Yeah.
sort of ways. Like,
No, I
obviously,
get
I
that.
wouldn't want to put that label on my child.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But in like, I would want to get the correct support without my daughter having that label. Like,
Yeah.
so
No, I get what you mean.
yeah.
Gosh, what a journey for you, Welsh Bird.
Welsh
Honestly,
bird.
it's like when it comes to myself, as well as being now severely sight impaired as well, with all this on top, is just
Yeah, it's a
life
lot.
is quite difficult at the minute. Like,
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, Welsh bird. I don't know. I don't know if you know or if you've already got the ball rolling or what. But in order to get sort of supporting school EHCPs in place, etc., you don't need a diagnosis for that.
yeah.
You can get all that without the diagnosis being done. And again, that's a lengthy process. It took me about 2 years to get Dylan's, but yeah, if you do need any support with the EHCP and stuff, send me a message because I've just been through it all.
We are friends anyway. It's just going to drop you a follow, but I just realised we're already.
Thank you, Welshie. I appreciate you, my
No problem at
darling.
all. No problem at all.
Big
Talk to
love.
you later.
Thank you for sharing.
No problem. Thank you. Love
Bye,
you.
darling.
Bye.
Love you.
Bye.
Zoe, MZ's asked, can right to choose be used for children? Do you know?
In some areas, yeah, it depends on the availability of the clinics in your local area, because basically there's rules about what private clinics can and can't use the right to choose pathway. Some clinics will diagnose children, others won't. So yeah, in some areas, then yes, but it will depend on your local area. If you type in your local area on Google and put right to choose ASD pathway, you will find sort of your local information and they'll be able to advise you on the ins and outs of that. There was a question from Lynn's earlier as well, and I think she was asking the room,
Yeah, she was.
does anyone else have OCD along with their ADHD? So if anyone does have OCD alongside ADHD, please let Lynn's know.
Yeah, pop it in the chat. If you have ADHD and you also have OCD, she just wants to know. I guess she's trying to find out is she alone or not. But if any of you who are here who have ADHD, I know Becky does. I know Becky does for sure. She's told me.
I can tell you my husband's got ADHD and OCD, so his goes hand in hand.
OG does as well. So, there we go, Lynn. There's starting to be a pattern form there. That's a great question. Thank you, darling. All right, Marpsy, you are going to be our last guest of today. How are you, Marpsy, and what would you like to share?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, hello, darling.
Oh, hiya. Sorry, I thought that because you muted me that you would unmute me, so I was waiting for
Oh,
you to
that's
put
right. Yeah, no,
your thing on.
I just saw the settings and it was like
Sorry.
invite her to unmute, and I was like, oh no, she can't unmute because of me. Sorry.
No problem. I'll keep it short because I'm ADHD. I
Love
can't
it.
stand all the blah blah blah. I just wanted to quickly share. I don't live in the UK anymore. And I've been going through therapy, since a child. Obviously never knowing. At the age of 30, I got a diagnosis in the country that I don't want to say too much. I don't want to give too much away. And no, like that, just it's quite personal. So anyway, when I moved and I found it, I had ADHD, and that was like, whoa, this is mental, and what could have been, my whole life's been ruined. So it takes quite a wee while to adjust, but eventually you do. Now, I've been in intensive therapy now, sometimes in clinics, you know, having to stay there for 3 months and all this and that. And I'm a really hard worker, so I always just want to be normal, you know. I've always just wanted to be normal and just do everything what I can to be normal. And it was only last year, and I just finished, there's a course called DBT, dialectus, something, because I was initially diagnosed with bipolar as a child, and then they diagnosed me with borderline. So I've been in clinics for that. Anyway, basically, I listened to like a podcast and I heard somebody talking about this autism, that, and I was like, "Hey, this sounds like." I was like, "Oh, there's no way I'm autistic. Come on, as if." And then, yeah, I had like months of face-to-face psychiatrist appointments, and I had to provide school reports, and my parents had to have appointments with a psychiatrist. Even my child and my work colleagues had to fill in forms. So it was really intense. Yeah, and then it came out, yeah, you're actually autistic, and it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, that's quite
How long was the
terrifying.
process from when you started it to getting the diagnosis and like having everyone sort of, you know, speak to your friends and work colleagues? How long was the process to actually getting a diagnosis for you?
Well, I feel really bad for saying it because I know how bad it is in the UK, but where I live, I think I went to the doctor in June last year, and Christmas last year, I had my diagnosis.
Oh wow, that's really quick. That's amazing.
Yes, but where I live, it's so different. When I lived in the UK, when I was even a wee lassie, you know, they would just give you pills. You take pills
Yeah,
and go away. Take
yeah,
pills and go away. But where I live now, they're hot on everything, so they do not do that. But now I'm in a situation which is really unfortunate. Now I'm starting to have to learn, oh, that's why, and I'm trying to unlearn all the things that I've been told my whole life, like you have to do this, you have to do that, be social, you know, go into the busy cities. And that's basically what I've tried to do my whole life.
mm,
But now I'm struggling. Now my anxiety is ridiculous. Sometimes I don't leave my house for weeks, months, whatever. And that's all because my whole life I've been in situations that's been so uncomfortable for me. But yeah, the norm is that's what you have to do. So
yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately, I have no, what's that? Unfortunately, the people in my life, maybe not in my life, but from far away, they don't want to know it, and they're like, "There's no way. There's no way. If that was the case, we would have known."
Oh wow.
And it's like, aye, and it's really challenging then because I've had to block them now at my life basically because they're just going like, oh, what's wrong with her? Oh, and I'm like, well, you could just ask some questions or I could send you some information. But I was always really angry. But I think this is what I think. It's very difficult for a parent to hear when their child is 40 odd years old that they have autism
Mm,
because they feel like crap. Because they're like, oh dear, I should have actually maybe took her to the doctor because see now when I look back, everything makes sense. And I
mm.
think to myself, how did nobody see it? I mean, this is ridiculous, man.
But
It's so
this is
ridiculous.
also part of it though, isn't it? Is that like often, you know, many years ago, boys were always put forward as either, you know, ADHD
Yeah,
or autistic, but with little girls, it
yeah.
was just not seen as, it wasn't even associated as if it could be a thing that girls could have.
No,
So
exactly.
that's
It's so
probably
weird.
why it was missed. Yeah.
Yeah, but I understand that, you know, because I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it is what it is. And probably in 20 years when my grandson is, you know, whatever age, I'll be like, oh, no, I'm sorry, son, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. But I really do feel terrible for the people in the UK, because from what I hear, I listen to TikTok a lot. What I hear is it's such a big, drawn out process. And I keep hearing about, oh, I have to fill in forms, fill in forms. I'm thinking, what do you mean fill in forms? You should be seeing a doctor face to face, you know? It
Yeah.
shouldn't be down to you to fill in the forms, but yeah, that's a whole other
Yeah.
talk show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to share that, and
Oh, thank
it's
you.
and now I'm now for the last 3 months I've got a autistic coach, and he comes to me every week, and it's weird. We don't do anything. We don't talk about anything really. But every week I'm learning more and more about myself and more about what I should do, what I shouldn't do,
Yeah.
instead of being like, oh, everybody's gone out, I should be going out. No, I'm like, yeah, who cares? I'm staying in. I don't like to be outside.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'm
yeah,
glad you got a coach and someone who's helping you with
yeah.
that. That's really good. And I'm happy that you've got that in place for you.
Oh, me too. I mean, it's amazing, but it's still, it's like with everything, you just have to get used to it. You have to get used to it. But when it's drummed into your whole life, look at me when I talk to you, da, 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 da,
Yeah.
it's not easy to go like, no.
Yeah. No, I hear
But
you.
yeah,
Listen, thank
so
you so much for coming up and sharing. I really appreciate
no
it.
worries. Thanks for
And
having me.
yeah, we'll see you in the room again. Thank you, Mopsy.
Okay,
Thanks,
take care,
Marcy.
everybody.
Bye, darling.
Bye bye.
Oh, wow. Thank you everyone who's come up and shared today. We are going to be wrapping the room in just a few moments. All in the poll, there are some Zoe's put the search terms for finding finding additional support and information. And what I will do is I've got to run to the shop and go and get some food for my daughter and her friend. I'm going to give them a little takeaway. But when I come back, I will upload to the link in my bio, and I will also post the link on my profile as well. And it will have all the names of the resources that we've used today to share information with you. So some of those, just I'll read them out so you know. But also I will put them all together in a little handy image for you all. So this right to choose ADSD and ADHD pathways, which is on the screen right now. This one that I'm reading is from eastwickpark.nhs.uk. I've also been reading some information earlier on to you from autisticgirlsnetwork.org. The other one was uclahealth.org. Don't panic, guys. I will post all of these links out for you if you're trying to write them down. The other one I found was on choosingtherapy.com. That one was about high functioning ADHD. The other one was adhdgirls.co.uk, and also adhdfoundation.org.uk. So I will put those all together for you. Massive thank you to Zoe, who's Miss Obsessed in the Box, for gathering a lot of these links for me so that we could do this show today. Thank you for hustling and
You're
doing the
welcome.
research, my darling. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Um, and we are back on Wednesday. So no, Thursday. We are doing a parenting live on bullying at 5 p.m. So if you're a parent and you want to come and talk about with us or learn about bullying, and we've got some resources and help and signposting and stuff, we'll be doing a parenting live Thursday at 5 p.m. as well. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed this and it was informative, Queen Bob. I hope that you guys have found this useful. Again, tap on the links, the poll. You might want to take a screenshot of the poll, and they are some of the search terms that Zoe used to find some of the sites that I've just told you about. But I will put them into one graphic and upload it for everyone so you can have those probably in about 45 minutes after I've got the girls some food. but I will make sure I get that up tonight. Zoe, did you want to add anything, darling, before we
Yeah, a
wrap?
couple of things. Because I know obviously putting them in a graphic, people might struggle with copy and paste. So if anyone is going to struggle and they want me to just send them the link, just send me a message to my inbox, and once I've fed my children, I will go through and just email the links directly to people.
Only problem is, babe, links don't work on Instagram. I
I'm
mean,
not sending it
on TikTok, the links don't work. They're still gonna have to copy
No,
and
but
paste them out, aren't they?
yeah, they can copy and paste it,
Okay.
but you can't copy and paste from an image. That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, I could literally do the same on the post. They could just copy it off of there, couldn't they? On the.
Yeah, I suppose you can.
But yeah, so anyway, look,
And
or just screenshot the image and copy and
yeah,
paste the
and
text from there.
the second thing was that I think that these lives are really, really important. Because I don't know about anyone else, but I've noticed a massive theme through it of the medical disparities between men and women, and how women are being misdiagnosed in so many areas because the research itself is all focused on men and not women. And I think that by holding these lives, we're able to educate a bit more and hopefully help women get the rightful diagnosis that they deserve, and not just be gaslit and misdiagnosed all the time. So hats off to you, Remi, for opening these spaces.
Oh, thanks, darling. And yeah, no, it's so important to say what you just said, and that's why I wanted to really read out those bits at the beginning because you know, ADHD, autism, these diagnoses are based mostly off of male studies and not women. So often it is harder for women or girls to get a diagnosis. But, from the stuff that we've been reading, it looks like things are starting to change, which is really important. Um, so that's all good. But thank you, everyone who has come in the box, everyone who's tapped the screen or sent the brat apples. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. If you're not following, make sure you give us a follow. Again, link in my bio. I will update that in about 45 minutes with a graphic for you all. And yeah, I really appreciate you all being here. And we'll see you next week. Next week we have another Women's Health Life Tuesday at 5 p.m. and Thursdays we have Parenting Lives at 5 p.m. as well. The full schedule is in my bio. If you want to know what's happening when, always just go to my profile and it'll be one of the top pinned posts. All right, my darlings, I'm going to love you and leave you. Take care. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Zoe.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Take care.